the same dry brush as watercolor, except for it's adapted for acrylic. So do the same process. You want to aim for seeing your brush strokes in the paint. Sgraffito or combing involves painting a layer or two of paint and then etching into it to create a design and reveal what's underneath. You can actually do wet and wet with acrylic just like you can with watercolor. So go ahead and lay down some water on your paper and then you can just drop in the acrylic paint just like the watercolor, and it has a very similar effect. For overlay or glazing, you're going to start by laying down a darker color on your paper and then letting it dry. Here I'm putting down 2 colors. Then let the paint dry for several minutes, because what you're going to do is overlay or glaze a lighter wash over top. So water down your paint just a little bit. Lighter colors work better, and then you're just going to wash or overlay on top of your existing color. For impasto, you're going to use a palette knife instead of a brush. So this is a really nice way to achieve a lot of different texture within the paint. Modeling paste is another great way to add texture into your artwork. So you can use a palette knife to scoop it out and then apply it onto your paper. You could also use a paintbrush to apply it directly into your paper. And side note, you can also mix it directly with the paint color if you want to. I always just like to lay it down on my paper. Make sure you let the modeling paste dry, and then you can paint over top of it. So here I am applying a second layer of color over top of the modeling paste. So you can use stencils or stamps to achieve some pretty cool acrylic technique in your painting. Here I'm using a stencil just to apply the paint through it. And then when you peel it off, you of course have your design. And make sure you wash the stencil too when you're done. With a sponge, similar process as you would use with watercolor. You're just using the sponge to apply paint instead of a brush. I like to layer different colors of paint together, letting it dry for a little bit, and then going back in and adding like a second or third layer of paint. Drips and splatters can be pretty fun. So to achieve drips, mix some water in with your acrylic paint, and you're just going to kind of angle your paper and guide the drips down. And then for splatters, it's best to use a flat bristled brush. The one that came with your watercolor set works really well. And then load it up with paint, and you can actually just kind of flick the bristles and really control your splatters. So gel medium is an acrylic medium that is going to thicken your paint and also actually make it a little bit more adhesive too. So you can mix it directly with your color. It'll lighten it just a little bit. So here I'm applying it so you can see what it looks like when I mix it directly with the paint. And then just for your reference, I'm applying the color without the gel medium next to it so you can see the difference. You can scumble with paint just like you can with color pencils, so use your brush in a circular motion, but keep it controlled. You can mask with masking tape, of course, or you can also use rubber cement. For my example here, I'm just going to lay down some masking tape strips that I cut, and then I'm just going to paint a couple layers of paint over top. I like to add a couple different colors sometimes instead of just one, so it's not so flat. Then while the paint is still wet, actually peel off the tape. Now my paint did leak a little bit, so you can just use your paintbrush to sort of clean it up your edges. So two more mediums you can use are gloss or matte medium. So to start, I'm just laying down a swatch of paint and letting that dry. And then I'm going to leave a section of it plain with nothing, and then a section with gloss medium. And then I'm going to paint a section of matte medium. And this way you can see the difference. It's really hard to tell in the video, but let yours dry. I'm going to label mine, and then you can see how it dries just for different finishes in your paint. Soft edge and hard edge are just two paint terms for how the paint is laid down and the quality of it. So soft edge, for example, is going to have a softer edge, just as it says. So I'm using a dry brush here to really make those edges soft. They're a little bit more blurred, a little bit more natural, whereas a hard edge, which I'm going to demonstrate in just a second here, is more crisp and clean and distinctive. So soft edge is really good for like sunsets or blending or skies, and hard edge is good for a lot of other things. And then here we have layered. Layered just refers to mixing the paint directly on the paper, which I'm doing here with the orange and the yellow, in contrast with just a single layer of yellow.